And so if they heard that someone might smoke, they stormed their house and beat them viciously. If they heard that someone might drink, they didn't see it, but it was enough to gain access to their home. When resistance continued, they were so harsh with the people of Mecca and Medina that they shut the gates up of the city and forced the people to eat the dogs of the city. You had the Medanese people, the Medanese, eating dog because they were starving to death. Again, this is all documented. Medina fell. The Brotherhood took over. And again, a lot of the Medanese were put to the sword. You may ask yourself, what was the Muslim government doing when the ulama were being murdered, the common laymen were being slaughtered? Here's what our leaders were doing. They had to deal with the French. They had to deal with battles over the Dardanelles. They had to deal with so many other external pressures that the Ottomans actually had to pull back from the borders and come back into the Middle East and cede 15% of Eastern and Western Europe to the powers out here to come back there because of the horrible things that were happening. Muhammad Ali Pasha was told to deal with them. Muhammad Ali Pasha read their creed, their notes, their discussion, their evidences. And he basically, when you read the writings that describes him, said that he was going to, quote, lay waste to all innovation wherever it is found. Tremendous Hanafi figure, tremendous Hanafi scholar as well, and an absolutely fearless soldier. Fearless. His son, Ibrahim Pasha, said, I fear no one but Allah. When one of his soldiers questioned his gallantry, this is his son, Ibrahim Pasha dug a trench 1/4 mile long and 5 feet across and had it filled with gunpowder and walked with a lit torch in his hand and said, I fear no one but Allah, and walked the entire distance. These are the type of men of this ummah to make them understand we fear no one but Allah. No one. Muhammad Ali Pasha swept down from the south and the west, and there was incredible fighting between the Brotherhood and Muhammad Ali Pasha and the Muslim military. I described it in the book that the Brotherhood or the Al-Muwahhidun fled like hyenas. I stand by that statement because they did. There is something about the overwhelming, not even numbers, but the force of truth, the force of power, the force of might, the force of the understanding of what Islam is supposed to be that repels things like hyenas or jackals or mutts, whatever. But they were repelled. The theologians of Salafiyyah were taken, and there were two categories. There were those that were taken straight to Istanbul, tried, executed by the beheading, and just buried in mass graves. They're just gone. Most of the Saud family, the males, that's what happened to them, and they're theologians. Muhammad Abdul Wahhab died before this, and was buried in an unmarked grave. Then there were the theologians who said that they repented from what they said. We're sorry we don't believe that. They were taken to Egypt and held in jail, and they were on remand. These include Abdul Rahman ibn Hasan and others. If you look at Abdul Rahman ibn Hasan's writings, who's the grandson and the third successor, you find at the end of his books he says, from captivity in Egypt or from Egypt. Because Abdul Rahman ibn Hasan was there. All of his sons were there. When the Ottomans collapsed in 1919, the movement began to take off again. But it met resistance from the Rashidiyah, who up until the collapse of the Ottomans were fighting this movement as well. And the Rashidiyya fought them from Hattin and other locations. When the Brotherhood was able to get a foothold, they killed almost every single person from the Jama'ah of the Rashidiyya. Almost every single Jama'ah. I've got a book as thick as probably my index finger about the Rashidiyya. Inshallah, I'll translate it. But they were a valiant and brave people. And it says that, it states that some of their women were the greatest scholars and warriors and the most brave of them. Al-Muwahhidun or Al-Ikhwan found that much of what they were saying was being opposed because the name that they had, the title that they had, wasn't sufficient. They needed a title to attract Muslims. So Muhammad Hamid Fiqh and others who were in Egypt, some of the first people in Egypt to be affected by the Dawah, like Muhammad Abdul, Muhammad Rashid al-Ghaf, gave it the title from the years 1890 and 1905, gave it the title Ad-Dawah As-Salafiyyah, the Salafi Dawah. This is when the title stuck, when it was held. And so you had Muhammad Abdul, Muhammad Rashid al-Ghaf, the student, Jamal al-Din al-Afghani, Muhammad Hamid Fiqh. And this is why you see most of the major Salafi works, they're printed where? Outside of the peninsula. Egypt. 1930s, Majmu' Fatawa received a new pressing and printing from where? Egypt. Because they shifted their operation there. Salafiyyah has grown since then. It has usurped the rich petroleum resources of Arabiya and put them to use for printing books. The physical quality of the books is undisputable. This is all of Muhammad Abdul Wahhab's 22 pamphlets. All of them. I was given the good fortune of coming across this book. I mean, the quality is, in terms of its physical aspect, how it physically looks, the aesthetic aspect of it is very pleasing. It's very pleasing. Who can argue with a cover so beautiful, so ornate, so perfect? So undisputedly and undeniably attractive. It's gorgeous, this cover. That's the idea. That's the idea. As-summa asal. Poison with honey. Now, I want to give something that I think is important. It's the 4 points all cults have in common. The 4 points all cults have in common. In the very brief research that I've done, and what the scholars that specialize in heresiography or study of the cults, they've isolated 4 main points that all cults have in common. Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab's divergent theology is specific to him, but it's not unique in the process of how he brought this horrible deviation about. One of the ways that they gain adherents is all cults break off from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah or Muslim Orthodox. They denounce and segregate themselves. They separate, segregate, then insult and deviate. This is the process that takes place. We've been told to stay away from this by the Prophet ﷺ, who said, indeed the children of Israel will split into 71 sects, and this ummah will have one more sect in them, all on the fire except the Sawad al-A'adam, the vast majority of people. This is in Majma' al-Zawahid, it's in Al-Faqih wal-Mutafaqih, it is in Al-I'tisam, it is in Tariq Baghdad, it's in the Mustadrak al-Hakim. It's quoted from so many sources, Imam al-Munawi, Fayd al-Qadir, and it's classified by all of them as authentic. The Prophet ﷺ has also told us, the example of the hypocrite is like the naked sheep. It goes to these at one point, and then goes to these at another point. It's collected by Imam Ahmad as Muslim as Jami al-Sahih. So they go, you do not know who the sheep belongs with, this naked sheep. So the sheep of Muslim orthodoxy have a shepherd, and they have sub-shepherds. But those naked sheep have another shepherd. And when the sheep have another shepherd, they're goats. They're goats, and they usually have horns. Those are goats. Those are not the sheep that belong to that shepherd. Al-Muwahhidun or Al-Ikhwan or Salafiyyah. This organization broke off, moved to Ad-Dariyah, and then demanded obedience from Muslim Orthodox, the laity, the scholars, as we just covered. This is the first step that cults make to gather initiates. Number 2. Their small cult is the only true Islam. Upon initiation, they're told they are privy to the truth, the only exclusive ones. The rite of initiation makes the one who's come to that cult feel good about himself. Him or herself, excuse me. Muhammad ibn al-Sana'ani said, they don't even know the reality of Islam or the actual nature of the uniqueness of Allah. Indeed, they are kuffar absolutely and without any restriction. The creed's purpose is taken from the creed's purification from the filth of desecration, which is Tafdil al-I'tiqad an al-Dawal al-Ilhad, pages 35 to 36. This is what he's saying about you. They, that's you. It's you, that's you. That's what he's saying. They, you, and you. Understand it clearly. What else? Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab has said, the best spoken word that could be said was the case of a Bedouin coming to us one day saying he heard something about Islam. He said, I bear witness that we were kuffar. He meant all the desert Arabs, and I bear witness that the guard who came to tell us the things is of the people of Islam. So the man bore witness. He was an unbeliever. This is taken from Sharh Sitt al-Mawadi' and Sirah, pages 25 to 26. This book right here it is. This same book. It's available. King Fahd, in fact, printed it and gave it his personal stamp saying that may Allah put benefit in it. وَنَفَعَ الْمُسْلَمِينَ بِعُلُومِهِ, and may the Muslims be benefited by its sciences. Further to this, Abdullah al-Shaykh, the successor of Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, says, indeed, quote, indeed, major shirk has become the norm for most of these people due to ignorance spreading and knowledge disappearing. Al-Kalimatu al-Nafi'atu fil-Mukaffiratu al-Waqi'ah, pages 15 through 16. This actual title means the beneficial word regarding those who are kuffar now. It's the actual title. Muhammad Abdul Wahhab also said, quote, it has been explicitly stated that idolatry would happen in this ummah to the vast throngs of the people. The good news is that the truth will always be present, even as it has been in the past. There will always be a small group upon it. The great sign is that even though people may oppose, abandon, or kill them, it will not harm them, and this state will happen until the hour is established. It was prophesied that there would be a victorious party upon the truth, which has already happened, just as was foretold. This is from Kitab al-Tawheed, pages 48 through 49, Mas'alas 7 through 12. Here's something further. Abdul Rahman ibn Hasan, who was one of the successors of the Jama'ah, he says, so this tribulation, quote, so this tribulation, worship of idols, was brought about to the point that no one in these later ages knew that they were supposed to reject it. This was the case until Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, may Allah have mercy upon him, established that worship of idols was to be repudiated and forbidden. He forbade idol worship. He then called the people to leave it, to worship Allah alone in His Lordship, divinity, names, and attributes. This is taken from Qur'aan al-Uyun al-Muwahhidin, pages 125 to 126.